Happening. Happy Friday to all of you. Thanks for joining me as always. It is very much appreciated due to a crazy schedule. This Thanksgiving week was on 98.5 this morning. This is a recorded podcast. I'm recording it at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So don't be thrown off. Don't be sending super chats. Don't be wondering why I'm not reacting to some of your chats, some of your comments in the comments section. Because, again, this one is recorded. But let's jump into the Colts Patriots preview for this Sunday. 3 big questions. Big question number 1, can DeMarcus Covington get more out of the defense after what we've seen the last 2 weeks? Where is this defense mentally? This is not as hard of a challenge. We'll get into that in a little while. Not as hard of a challenge as they've had the last 2 weeks against the Rams and the Dolphins with all of the motion. Where is this defense mentally? Where is Covington mentally? Can he recover after the last 2 weeks that we've seen? Big question number 2. Will the Patriots be looking forward too much? What am I talking about? Well, after this week, they have a bye week. They haven't had a bye week. They've been playing football for seemingly ever, right? You just had the holiday, so it would be very easy to be somewhat sleepy this weekend after the holiday to say to yourself, well, we've got the bye week coming up. We'll just get there. And you're just looking forward to the bye week so much that you're not paying attention to detail, and you're not playing as hard as you might want to play. It's just kind of a wait until the week off kind of thing, right? It's like when you go to work on a Friday and you know that you got vacation week coming up and you just want to get out of work, so you might not be as dialed in. Are the Patriots going to be dialed in on Sunday against the Colts? Are they going to be able to clean it up? Or will they be focused on getting that week off, feeling the bye week physically and mentally, and that takes away from some of the intensity, from some of the urgency on Sunday? Big question number 3. How will Layden Robinson play? It sounds like, according to those at practice today, that Layden Robinson is going to be your left guard on Sunday. Now, we know he's had some ups and downs during this rookie season, but this is Layden Robinson's opportunity to show the team that he is worthwhile and that he can start at left guard. If Robinson plays well at left guard and Onwenu continues to play as well as he's played the last couple of weeks, last week was Onwenu's best game. If Robinson proves that he can play left guard, now you start to think about the Cole Strange at center talk, right? Because maybe the Patriots are looking at this and saying in 2025, Robinson left guard, Strange center, Onwenu right guard. So what does Robinson look like? Sounds like he's going to get the opportunity. Michael Jordan, by the way, who was cut earlier in the week, has come back. He has re-signed with the team. He is on the practice squad. So it sounds like it's going to be Layden Robinson. Cole Strange is not ready to play. He will not play this weekend. But it would seem to me that Cole Strange is likely to play after the bye week at Arizona. And that would also give him a couple of weeks to continue to work at center. At the Cardinals, if Robinson plays well enough against Indianapolis on Sunday, it's quite possible. I'm not telling you it's probable, but it's quite possible that you have that Robinson, Strange, Onwenu, left guard, center, right guard trio at Arizona against the Cardinals after the bye week. So those are the 3 big questions heading into this game. Let's start with the Patriots defense against the Colts offense. The Colts, some notes about their offense. They are 21st in offensive DVOA, 19th passing, 18th rushing. So a very mid offense, and maybe even a little bit below mid, according to DVOA. They're 24th in the red zone, so not a great red zone offense. 23rd on third downs. So they're not particularly strong on third down. They're not strong in the red zone. And, 19th passing, 18th rushing, pretty mid, just below mid offensively. Of course, they've had the back and forth at quarterback. Started with Anthony Richardson, went to Joe Flacco. Now they're back to Richardson. He is their guy for at least the rest of this season. The first question for this defense is whether or not Covington can limit Jonathan Taylor. If he can limit Jonathan Taylor, we saw last week, if there was one good thing about this Patriots defense last week against Miami, it was their run defense. Miami, they ran for less than 3 yards per carry. That's a big step forward for the Patriots defensive front. Now, yes, Miami had struggled running the football, but it's not like Indianapolis is doing a great job running the football. So when you look at the last couple of weeks, the Colts have really struggled getting Taylor going. You know they're going to want to get him going on Sunday. The Patriots' run defense for most of this year has been a weakness. So you have to imagine Shane Steichen, the head coach, the offensive play caller for the Colts, he is looking at this game and saying, this could be an opportunity to get Jonathan Taylor going and to not put as much on Anthony Richardson as we've had to. The Colts rushing offense, it's interesting. When you look at the analytics of the Colts offensive line running the football, the analytics would tell you that the offensive line has done a good job. They are sixth. They are the sixth best offensive line in run block win rate. However, they are 29th in success rate. So they're not successful running the football. There's a lot of boom or bust feel to this run game. And the same could be said for Richardson, which we'll get into in a couple of minutes. But there's that boom bust feel with Taylor and the Colts running the football. I mean, if you look at Taylor's stats by game, I think he's had 4 games or so where he's gone over 100, but he's also had a number of games where he just hasn't been good. Last 2 games, 35 carries for 92 yards. That's 2.6 yards per carry. The last 2 weeks, Taylor has not been capable of running the football for this offense. If that continues on Sunday, the Colts are going to have a much more difficult job of beating the Patriots on the road, because Taylor's got only 4 games over 100 yards. And we're talking about a guy going into this season that was seen as one of the premier running backs. Does he look like the premier running back, Jonathan Taylor, against the Patriots on Sunday? Or does he look like the guy he's looked like the last 2 weeks and gives him 50 yards on the ground? If you can keep Taylor to 50 yards on the ground, you feel great about the chance of this game going your way. So can the Patriots continue to make life miserable for Taylor? Can they make the Colts one-dimensional? Indianapolis does not run a lot of motion. Miami ran motion more than 90% of the time last week. The Rams were somewhere in the mid-80s to high 80s running motion against the Patriots. This Colts offense, they do not run a lot of motion, whether it's pre-snap or at the snap. This is not a Sean McVay, Mike McDaniel type offense. Shane Steichen does not throw a lot of motion. Now, there is the possibility. It depends on how comfortable Steichen is. It depends on how comfortable Anthony Richardson is. There is the possibility that we see Indianapolis run more motion this weekend because they look at the last 2 weeks and they go, holy crap, the Patriots have a ton of trouble against motion. We might want to run more of it than we usually do. I'm leaving the door open for that possibility. But going into this game, the Colts do not run a lot of motion whatsoever. Let's talk about Richardson. He's a freak. He's an athletic freak. He's 6'4", 6'5", 245. He ran a crazy 40-yard dash time for the quarterback position. This guy is a supreme athlete. You want to talk about athleticism? There are levels to this. And he is the elite kind of athlete at quarterback. Like Drake Maye is a good athlete. Richardson is an elite athlete. It's different. And so the Patriots have to be ready for that. What does that mean? They've got to be able to contain Richardson. You're going to see the Colts run a lot. We were talking about Drake Maye and designed runs. Finally this week, thankfully, AVP talked about, yes, we don't have an issue with using designed runs. We'll get to that more later on when we talk about the Patriots offense. But Van Pelt said that, situationally, he can see them call designed runs for Drake Maye. That's like, 2 or 3 times a game, right? Maybe 4 times a game. Richardson, a lot of the Colts offense is based around his ability to run the football. And they will run a lot of RPOs. They'll run a lot of, read options, a lot of designed runs for Anthony Richardson. And so the Patriots defense has to make sure they contain him. This week, DeMarcus Covington said they've got to trap Richardson in the pocket. So they can't allow him to get outside. They can't allow him to extend plays. They can't allow him to have explosive runs when Shane Steichen calls these designed runs for his quarterback. They've got to contain the edges. They've got to be able to get him out of bounds or get him down, which isn't easy, right? It's much more difficult to tackle a quarterback like Richardson, who's 6'4", 245, than it is to tackle a guy like Tua Tagovailoa if Tua goes running around, which he doesn't do very often, but you get the point. Richardson is a freight train. So not only do you have to contain him, keep him in the pocket, make sure that you do a good job on the edges, you also have to make sure that you tackle him. Wrap him up if you get a chance to wrap him up and bring him down, because he will go through some of the defensive backs if he has to. All right, before I continue with the Patriots defensive thoughts and then get to the Patriots offense, don't forget to do a few things that can help us here. We are over 5,000 subscribers, and it's because of you. Couple simple things. You click that thumbs up button. Give us that like on the YouTube channel. That helps us beat the algorithm. Also, throw a comment in. Again, this is recorded, but you could still comment on demand as you watch. Throw comments in there. Let me know how you feel about the Patriots' chances this weekend against the Indianapolis Colts. Likes and comments help us beat the algorithm and also create traffic to the channel. So do those two things. They help us a lot. And if you're here and you enjoy the programming, subscribe as well. Click that notify bell. I love to see the subscriber number continue to climb. The goal is 5,500 by the new year. I think we can do it, but it's going to be a tall, tall task. So like, comment, subscribe, click that notify bell. Spotify, Apple Pods, people, you know what to do. Rate, review, and you can also comment now on Spotify. Back to the Patriots defense. Is there any way that the Patriots will get pressure on Anthony Richardson? I don't expect it. I have come to the point now. We've seen this defense. We're through 12 weeks. They blitz a ton. Patriots defense is a top 5 blitz team in the NFL. They don't get a lot of pressure. They especially don't get a lot of pressure with their 4-man fronts. We saw that last week against Miami. And so I think it's going to be very difficult for the Patriots to get consistent pressure on Anthony Richardson. If they could get some pressure on A. Richardson, they could make him uncomfortable. And if you make Richardson uncomfortable, you get to see the more erratic Richardson. Just like the run game for the Colts, the passing game, because of Richardson and his flaws, he's very, very raw. We talk about Drake Maye not playing a ton of football. Richardson played a lot less football than Drake Maye. I think he played 13 games at Florida before he was drafted. So this is a very raw quarterback. Now, people will look at his completion percentage and they'll think that like he has no chance to hit open guys. That's not necessarily the truth. Ben Solak of ESPN wrote this long piece about Anthony Richardson when the Colts decided to bench him. He looked back at the film, and one of the main takeaways from Solak was the fact that the Colts offense, they were asking Richardson to throw a lot of vertical routes. I mean, a lot of the throws that he was making, a lot of the pass attempts were downfield. And when you throw downfield, of course, there is less probability that you complete that pass. You're talking about contested catches, right? You're talking about tough windows. So that inherently impacted his completion percentage. Since he's come back, he's been better. And the offense isn't necessarily asking him to hit those big shots over and over and over again. So we have to keep that in context, and we got to keep it in perspective. However, that doesn't mean that Richardson is not erratic, because he is. He is erratic. I was doing the show this morning with Alex Barth, and I thought Alex made the perfect analogy comparison. He said that Anthony Richardson is a more raw, more erratic Drake Maye. And there are elements to that. When you look at Maye, he takes these risks, turnover-worthy plays, and, he's not always sharp with his accuracy. He'll spray a football every once in a while. That's Anthony Richardson, but he's even more erratic and accurate than Maye. But just like Maye, Richardson has the capability, he has the talent to hit you with big plays. He has the talent to dart a throw in a tight window. So it's this boom-bust feel for the Colts, their run game and their quarterback. So can you get to him? Can you trap him? If you can't get pressure on him, can you cover long enough to make him feel uncomfortable? And then he starts to speed up his process. Because if you get him thinking fast, if you get him speeding up and making him feel somewhat uncomfortable, then the erratic Richardson is going to show up and he's going to make mistakes. As far as Indy's pass protection, it stinks. Their pass protection has not been good. 28th in pressure rate, 30th in pass block win rate. They're 26th in time to pressure, 2.56 seconds. Teams are getting pressure on Richardson in 2.56 seconds. That's not good. And teams are not blitzing the Colts to get this pressure. So the Colts, again, 28th in pressure rate, but opposing defenses blitz them 23rd most in the league. So in the bottom third of the league, they're not facing a lot of blitz, but they're still giving up lots of pressure. The Patriots, as I mentioned, they're 4th in the NFL in blitz rate this year. Top 5 blitzing team in the league. Will Covington do that? Will Covington continue to blitz? Will he continue to blitz even though, if you look at the stats, they will tell you that you don't have to blitz to get pressure on this team. But the Patriots, they can't get pressure with their 4. Even against teams that have been terrible and given up tons of pressure, they haven't been able to get home consistently. Now, they got home against Chicago. A lot of that was on Caleb Williams for holding on to the football forever. If they can cause just a little bit of chaos in Richardson's head, they can spin him around a little bit. So it's going to be fascinating to see how much Covington decides to blitz, how much he's going to trust the 4-man pressure. Is he going to, try to make Richardson the runner? And then you're going to look at your defensive backs coming downhill to make plays, your safeties coming downhill to make plays, your second level being sturdy enough. So this is a very interesting matchup because what the Colts want to do and what the Patriots have been unable to do. Now, as far as the secondary for the Patriots, can they stay away from the big play? Again, the Colts have a lot of deep concepts. They will test your defense deep. GTFB, get the bleep back. I guess that's really GTBB in my language, my non-swearing YouTube language. GTBB, get the bleep back. You don't want to get beat deep, multiple times against this offense because they'll rip off a couple of chunk plays. Next thing you know, you look up, you're down 2 scores. The boom or bust factor. Finally, before I get to the offense and Drake Maye, the wide receiver versus cornerback matchups are interesting. It sounds like Josh Downs is going to miss this game. That's important. He's pretty much Richardson's easy money. He gets open pretty quickly. The Colts will move him around in the formations. So Downs being out this weekend, if he is out, which again sounds very likely, that's going to be a pretty big hit to this Colts offense. Alec Pierce also did not practice on Wednesday. We'll see if he's out there today. We'll see if he's going to play on Sunday. It could be that the Colts are down 2 of their best receivers on Sunday, which obviously helps the Patriots, but you still got size to deal with. Michael Pittman is a big dude. A.D. Mitchell, who I talked a lot about before the draft, from Texas, highly skilled guy. Both Pittman and A.D. Mitchell are big receivers. I don't have much of a problem with Christian Gonzalez. I think he'll be fine. He has proven that. Marcus Jones, on the other hand, 5'8". And as we've seen, 5'8" plays like 5'8". It's nothing against Marcus Jones. At times, he's had very good to great coverage. He's just not big enough to deal with the bigger receiver. So with A.D. Mitchell, Pittman, if Pierce plays, Alec Pierce is a big dude. This could be a tough matchup for Marcus Jones. You might see Marcus Jones slide back into the slot a little bit, and maybe you see Alex Austin out there this weekend to give him a shot because he's a bigger corner. So size on the outside is going to be a challenge for the Pats secondary. All right, let's jump to the Patriots offense and Drake Maye. I think Sunday is a big opportunity for Drake Maye. The way this game sets up, I think Maye could have a really, really good game. I think it's possible, if not probable, that Maye will have his best game of his NFL career on Sunday. If the Patriots' protection can help him and he has time, I think he will make plays against this defense. We all know Gus Bradley from his Seattle days, right? Gus Bradley, the defensive coordinator for Indianapolis, he's very predictable. He plays the Seattle zone constantly. Back when it was the Legion of Boom. He's going to continue to play his zone. Zone heavy, very predictable. Drake Maye, Alex Van Pelt should know exactly what Gus Bradley wants to do on Sunday. He does not change the script very often. So Maye should be comfortable in what he sees. Evan Lazar wrote this week that Indianapolis plays the least amount of man coverage in the NFL. Indy only plays man coverage 13.3% of the time. So, again, Maye should know exactly what's coming at him on Sunday. He should understand the coverages. And Van Pelt should understand the coverages. This is not going to be a very difficult defense to decipher. Doesn't mean you're going to execute at a high level, but you should know exactly what is out there in front of you. And teams obviously feel that way because when you look at the numbers, teams are throwing at this Colts defense. The Colts are facing the 6th highest opponent passing rate. So they are getting thrown at a lot. The 6th most in the NFL. Teams are looking at the Colts. They're looking at this Gus Bradley defense. They know what to expect. They're not afraid of the secondary. They're throwing the football at the 6th highest rate against this defense. The Colts, 25th in opponents' yards per pass. So they're giving up plays. They're giving up yardage. They're 29th in opponent completion percentage. So you look at some of these numbers. Quarterbacks have had a very easy time completing passes. They've been picking up good yardage per pass. And they're throwing it a lot. The 6th highest rate. And so if you can get some early down success, you should be able to move the football against Indianapolis on Sunday. This should be a productive day for the offense. It should be a very productive day for the offense. There's 2 guys to handle up front. And so we'll get to those 2 guys in a minute, but we focus first on the Patriots side of that equation, right? The offensive line. The offensive line on Sunday, if it's Layden Robinson at left guard, as we talked about, I would anticipate Vidarian Lowe, Layden Robinson, Ben Brown, Mike Onwenu, Trey Jacobs at right tackle. I would think that's going to be your offensive line on Sunday. If that is your offensive line on Sunday, those 5 guys have to be ready for the 4-man rush. Because Gus Bradley, this Colts defense, they don't do much that is exotic. They're not going to run a ton of, creeper pressure that we've talked about in the past. They're not going to run a ton of simulated pressure that we've talked about in the past. They rely on their 4-man rush, and they've got some talented guys. 2 that we'll talk about in a minute, but the 4-man rush. Now, I would imagine they're going to try to play some games, some stunts and all that we've seen the Patriots offensive line have trouble with in the past. But mostly, this is going to be straightforward. Again, this defense is very straightforward. There's not much that's crazy about what they do. You got to be ready. You got to be prepared for the 4-man rush. And you know that they're going to throw a ton of zone at you. I mean, you should be able to protect Drake Maye. You should be able. When you look at the Colts pass rushing numbers, they're not great. They do have some talented guys, and they got guys that can beat you one-on-one. Now, they might have a hell of a lot more success on Sunday against the Patriots because the Patriots O-line, as we know, have had trouble. So, some of these numbers, we've seen this in the past this year, they don't mean as much when you play the Patriots. But coming into this game, the Colts are 23rd in pass rush win rate. So they're not winning a lot of one-on-one battles. They're not winning as many as you might expect. And to go back to the idea that they're not blitz happy, they're not trying to do too much exotic, at the defensive front. Indianapolis, I said earlier, the Patriots are 4th in the NFL in blitz rate. The Colts are 27th in the NFL in blitz rate. 27th. Now, we've seen, again, teams that don't blitz a lot, all of a sudden they play the Patriots and they blitz. Maybe Gus Bradley will throw a wrinkle at the Patriots. Maybe we'll all be surprised by what he does on Sunday. Maybe the Colts will blitz more on Sunday because they've seen other teams have success with that. That is a theme versus this Patriots offensive line. But going into this game, you don't see a lot of blitz on film. They rely on their guys. Now, the two guys that you have to pay special attention to, Laiatu Latu, their first-round pick from this year. He is 14th in the NFL in edge pass rush win rate. So he's top 15 at his position at winning one-on-ones. He's on the edge. It's going to be a challenge. You have to contain Laiatu Latu. If Latu gets going, it could be very similar to Chop Robinson last week, who was a nightmare. Alex Van Pelt has to be ready for Latu. The other guy is DeForest Buckner. Buckner is a very, very talented interior defensive lineman. He also has some versatility. They can move him around a little bit. He's been a gigantic headache for the Patriots. In the past, he has destroyed the Patriots. So the Patriots have to be able to handle Latu and Buckner. Now, you expect those two guys every once in a while to make a play, but you cannot allow either of those guys to dominate this football game. I think the Patriots will be able to eat offensively on Sunday if Van Pelt and Maye can stay away from third and medium, third and long. And they should know, again, what's coming at them most of the time. Because when you look at Indy, and you go back to what I just mentioned as far as yards per pass attempt and how Indy's given up some plays, well, when you look at Indianapolis's third down defense, it tells you what you need to know. Indy is 28th in the NFL on third down. They are a bottom 5 third down defense. So a couple of things at work here. Can you run the football? Can you get going against this Colts defense? If you can get some run game going, obviously, third and medium, third and short, you're going to be looking really good. The other part of that is, even if you're looking at third and medium or third and long, if you're looking at a 3rd and 7, you still have a chance to convert against this defense because they've been giving up some plays. So this should be a game where AVP against this predictable defense should be able to draw some things up. Go back to the Rams game. AVP had a great game plan for Drake Maye. They understood the pressure rate. They understood that, the Rams defensive front was going to get after Maye. There were a lot of plays that it was just get rid of the football quickly. He gave his quarterback options. And I think Van Pelt, if you're watching the film, and obviously he's watching the film, he's going to go into this game on Sunday knowing what Gus Bradley wants to do. And I think Van Pelt's going to have a good game plan. Now, will the offensive line destroy it? We'll have to wait and see. That's what happened against Miami last week. If you have, a bunch of pre-snap penalties, if you have pressures on the right side, Trey Jacobs gave up, 9 pressures on Sunday against the Dolphins. If you have that, the offensive coordinator is going to be in rough shape because now you're trying to deal with 2nd and 15, 1st and 15, 3rd and 13, 3rd and 10. You got to stay ahead of the chains. Clean up the operation. Less pre-snap penalties, which is also on Van Pelt as much as Mayo. Less pre-snap penalties. Productive on 1st and 2nd down. And I think we can see 3 or 4 design runs for Drake Maye this weekend. And just like Van Pelt talked about, it's not you just call design runs for your quarterback all the time. You don't do that. I think in certain situations, you can see the Patriots finally, I've been preaching this ever since Maye took over, utilize designed runs for the quarterback. You don't have to run them 10 times, but utilize it because he can do it. It's an effective part of his game, and it helps the offensive line. It helps the run game, and it helps in certain situations, such as 3rd and short, 4th and short, if you're going to go for it, inside the 5-yard line, at the goal line. Those are the situations. Open up the playbook. Allow Maye to attack these defenses with his legs. And it sounds like Van Pelt is going to allow that to happen this weekend, thankfully. Now, of course, it depends on score and tenor of the game. And Do they have opportunities to throw those design runs out there? But I'm looking third and short. I'm looking at fourth down. I'm looking at red zone, especially inside the 5 or at the goal line. What will the wide receiver snaps look like? I'm interested in that. Gerard Mayo came out this week talking about how we need to see more from, some players. He was asked to follow up today with the media, and he said they want to see Layden Robinson. They want to see what he can bring to the table as they get ready for 2025. He wants to see Caden Wallace back out there when Wallace is healthy enough. Sounds like he's getting closer. He mentioned the young receivers. Got to start seeing some life from Jalen Polk and Javon Baker. So how will they divvy up the wide receiver snaps? I'm curious. I'm interested. If you noticed last weekend, we didn't have a chance to talk about it a lot, but, Antonio Gibson played more snaps than Ramondre Stevenson last weekend against Miami. I was questioning why Gibson wasn't getting more snaps. He got more snaps last weekend. Does that continue this weekend? Was that because of the score? Did they feel like Antonio Gibson should be out there more because, the Patriots got down and Gibson is seen as more of the, scat back, receiving back kind of guy? We'll see. It might be closer to 50-50 this weekend with running back snaps. We will see what happens. All right, before I get to a couple of final points of my prediction, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. All of those things are appreciated. Doesn't cost you any money, doesn't take a ton of time, but it helps us an awful lot. Sunday, it's going to be cold at Gillette Stadium, 38 degrees. 38 degrees in Foxborough on Sunday, a little bit of wind, and it's going to be fascinating to see how that impacts quarterback play. Drake Maye has mostly been a warm weather guy, right? This might be the coldest game he's played in, or one of the coldest games he's played in. So will that impact him? His, handling of the football, will it impact him with it being cold? Gloves or no gloves? These are the questions. Anthony Richardson, he played down in Florida. He plays in a dome in Indianapolis. How is he going to enjoy the cold? 38 degrees isn't terrible for all of us just kind of walking around, but when you're on the football field, open field with some wind swirling, it could be pretty damn cold out there. So how do the quarterbacks deal with that? Indianapolis could be down to their third string center. Keep an eye on it. Could be a weakness. Can Christian Barmore get going a little bit? Devon Gottschall get going a little bit with, the third string center, if that is indeed what the Colts are left with? There could be some problems on that interior for Indianapolis's offensive line if that is the case. Let's talk turnovers. The Patriots, they have turned the football over way too often with Drake Maye, and they have been absolutely unable to create takeaways. It's a big issue. DeMarcus Covington, when he was promoted to defensive coordinator, the media asked him before the season what was going to be different about this defense. He talked about being more aggressive. He talked about playing faster, and he talked about taking the football away. We're going to create turnovers. They haven't done that. The Patriots are 28th in the league in turnover differential, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that the defense, they're not creating turnovers. Not many interceptions, not many forced fumbles and recoveries. Now, last week they got one with Christian Gonzalez's fumble recovery to the touchdown, but they just have not been able to create turnovers. Will they get Anthony Richardson to throw a couple of picks, maybe fumble the football once? The Colts, meanwhile, they're -1 in turnover differential. Again, the Patriots are -7. But what's interesting is the Colts are, yes, they're a -1 overall, but it's not necessarily because they take care of the football great. They're 27th in the league in giveaways. So they turn the football over. They're 9th in takeaways. They create turnovers. So with this matchup, Drake Maye, we've talked about his turnovers. We've talked about some of the careless turnovers that he's had. Maye has to take care of the football because if the Colts don't get those takeaways, they will give you the ball. Patriots have a chance to have 1 or 2 turnovers this weekend. Can they force them? They've got a shot. All right, so the spread is -2.5. The Colts are favored -2.5. The over-under is 42.5. I'm going to pick the Patriots in this game. It's at home. The weather conditions, I think, favor them more than Indianapolis. This is, when you look at the final 5 games for the Patriots, this is by far the most winnable game on the schedule. This is a big game before the bye week. If you can win this game, go into your bye week after a W, you feel good about yourself. You've tied the amount of wins from last season. You've got that bye week to prepare for Arizona. And, you just feel much better about your chances to be competitive the rest of the year if you're able to win this game. If you falter, if you lose to the Colts, you could absolutely be looking at losing the last 7 games of this season. That's on the table. The Rams game, the Dolphins game. If you lose on Sunday, and then you've got to play at Arizona, then you've got to play at Buffalo, and then you're home for the final 2 games of the year for the Chargers and then the Bills again, you could lose 7 straight to end this season. And that is not what this football team wants. That is not what Gerard Mayo wants. That is not what we want. This is the most winnable game of the final 5. If you lose, God forbid, convincingly, that ain't good. If you lose, you go into the bye week. Guys are thinking about being 3-10. They're thinking about the final 4 games of the season. They've got to travel out to the West Coast after the bye week. You've got to play Buffalo 2 out of your last 3 games, which is a difficult challenge. Now, maybe Buffalo doesn't play many guys the final week of the season, or they play them in short stints, depending on what their seating situation is. But right now, you've got to go in thinking you're playing the Bills, the full-powered Buffalo Bills, 2 out of the last 3 games. The other game is the Chargers, Jim Harbaugh. Chargers are going to be looking at their playoff life. So if you lose on Sunday, you're going to that bye week with not the best of vibes, folks. This is the most winnable game left, so I'm taking the Patriots. At home against the Colts. The Colts are not a very good football team. Neither are the Patriots, but I'm picking the Pats. I think Van Pelt and Drake Maye will do well versus Indy as long as the offensive line is not a disaster. Richardson's erratic. I think he'll make a couple of mistakes. I've got Patriots 27, Indianapolis 20. So I'm going with the Patriots getting the 2.5 points, and I would also go over the 42.5. Patriots 27, Colts 20. We'll see if I end up being right. Everybody, enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the football on Sunday. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Click that notify bell as well. Spotify, Apple Pods, people. You can jump on over to YouTube and do those things as well to help us out. Again, enjoy your weekend. Be well. We'll be back on Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern, live on YouTube to recap Colts Patriots. I appreciate every single one of you.